Have you ever noticed how desperately clinging to someone only seems to push them further away? This paradox lies at the heart of one of the universe's most profound spiritual truths. When we grasp too tightly at relationships, we often find ourselves empty-handed. But when we open our palms and release our grip, what we desire sometimes flows back to us with surprising ease. This isn't merely coincidence or psychological trickery. It's a manifestation of universal laws that govern the spiritual realm. As Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic, discovered through thousands of readings, these invisible principles shape our connections with others in ways that transcend our physical understanding. The spiritual teachings I accessed during my trance states revealed fundamental truths about human relationships that many find difficult to accept. The universe operates according to spiritual laws as reliable as gravity, yet far more subtle in their workings. What appears as coincidence to the untrained eye is often the precise choreography of souls following eternal patterns of connection, separation, and reunion. When we examine the mysterious phenomenon of why letting go sometimes brings people back into our lives, we're peering into the very mechanics of how consciousness interacts across the spiritual dimensions that bind us together. Through my years of giving readings to thousands of individuals seeking guidance, I witnessed a pattern emerge. Those who released their attachment to specific outcomes often received exactly what they had previously sought. This wasn't random chance, but evidence of how spiritual energies respond to our internal state. The soul recognizes freedom as its natural condition, and when we honor this truth in our relationships, we align ourselves with a profound spiritual law that can transform our connections with others in remarkable ways. In the countless readings I provided during my lifetime, I consistently emphasized that relationships serve as our greatest teachers. Each connection we form with another person represents a spiritual contract, an agreement between souls to help each other learn and grow. These relationships don't happen by accident. They're purposeful encounters designed to guide us toward spiritual completion. Yet most people misunderstand the true purpose of these connections, especially those that feel most intense and compelling. The strongest attractions often disguise our deepest lessons, and how we respond to the inevitable challenges within these relationships determines our spiritual progress. Consider the nature of what you call attachment in your relationships. When you cling desperately to another person, what energy are you actually projecting? In my readings, I frequently saw how fear-based attachment creates a spiritual resistance that repels rather than attracts. The soul instinctively withdraws from any energy that seeks to possess or control it. This is why the act of letting go isn't merely a psychological technique, but a spiritual alignment with universal law. You're acknowledging the fundamental freedom that each soul requires for its journey. What many fail to understand is that true connection exists in the realm of spirit, rather than in physical proximity or emotional dependency. When you release someone with love rather than desperation, you're not ending the connection, but transforming it from a material attachment to a spiritual bond. This shifted energy creates a completely different vibrational pattern, one that honors both souls' journey rather than attempting to force a particular outcome. As I often told those who sought my guidance, you cannot possess another soul. You can only walk alongside it for a time. The spiritual law at work when you let go operates through what I described in my readings as soul attraction. Unlike the physical laws you can measure and predict with scientific instruments, soul attraction functions through the invisible energies of thought, intention, and spiritual vibration. When you release someone from the bonds of your expectations and fears, you allow both souls to find their natural resonance. This is why, paradoxically, letting go sometimes results in return, not because you've manipulated the outcome, but because you've removed the interference that prevented authentic connection. Throughout my readings, I explained that souls are drawn together across lifetimes, not because they complete each other, but because they provide opportunities for growth and self-discovery. As I stated in one reading, we are attracted to another person at a soul level, not because that person is our unique complement, but because by being with that individual, we are somehow provided with an impetus to become whole ourselves. This understanding transforms how we approach the act of letting go. Rather than seeing it as losing someone, we recognize it as creating space for both souls to evolve as they need to. When you grasp this principle, you'll understand why clinging creates distance while release often facilitates return. The soul inherently seeks freedom and authentic expression. When you attempt to possess another person through emotional demands, jealousy, or control, you're working against the soul's natural trajectory. But when you release them with love and genuine well wishes for their journey, you create a spiritual environment where connection can flourish according to its higher purpose rather than your personal desires. In my readings for those struggling with relationship challenges, I often emphasize that letting go doesn't mean abandoning love. Quite the opposite. True love always honors the spiritual freedom of the beloved. As I stated, love is patient and kind. It does not demand its own way. When you love someone enough to release them completely, trusting in the greater wisdom of the universe's plan, you're practicing the highest form of love. This creates a spiritual magnetism far more powerful than any attempt to hold on through fear or manipulation. The irony in human relationships is that what we most desperately pursue often eludes us precisely because of our desperation. I explained in numerous readings that anxiety, fear, and attachment create a dissonant energy that disrupts the natural flow of spiritual connection. When you release these emotions and trust in the divine plan for all souls involved, you align yourself with universal laws that govern all authentic relationships. This alignment, not any technique or strategy, is what sometimes brings people back into your life after you've genuinely let them go. Many who sought my guidance didn't want to hear that they needed to release their attachment to a specific person or outcome. Human nature clings to what it desires, often strangling the very connections it most wants to preserve. Yet, time and again, those who followed this guidance, who truly surrendered their relationships to divine wisdom rather than personal will, discovered a profound truth. Spiritual law operates with perfect precision when we step out of its way and allow it to work through us, rather than forcing our limited understanding upon it. In my readings, I emphasize that relationships exist to teach us how to love unconditionally. This lesson often comes through the painful process of letting go. When you cling to someone who is pulling away, you're not experiencing love, but fear. Fear of loss, abandonment, or being alone. True love acknowledges that each soul must follow its own path, even when that path leads away from us. The spiritual paradox is that this very acknowledgement sometimes creates the conditions for paths to converge again, not through manipulation, but through spiritual resonance. There's a fundamental misconception about the nature of soul connections that leads to unnecessary suffering. Many believe that if a relationship is meant to be, it should unfold effortlessly, without separation or challenges. My readings revealed a different truth. The strongest soul connections often include periods of separation specifically designed to facilitate growth that couldn't occur otherwise. When you understand this, letting go becomes not a last resort, but a conscious participation in the spiritual evolution of both individuals. The spiritual law that sometimes brings someone back after you've let them go operates through the principle of soul memory. As I explained in my readings, souls recognize each other across different lifetimes and circumstances. When you release someone with love rather than bitterness or attachment, you're honoring the true nature of your soul connection, rather than imposing your personal desires upon it. This creates a clear channel through which soul recognition can operate without distortion, sometimes resulting in a renewed connection when the timing is spiritually appropriate. What many call the law of attraction is actually far more complex than simply manifesting what you want. In my readings, I described how souls are constantly drawn to the experiences and relationships they need for growth, which isn't always what the conscious mind desires. When you truly let go of someone, you're acknowledging this deeper wisdom, allowing the soul's journey to unfold according to its highest purpose, rather than your personal timeline or preferences. This surrender to divine timing often creates the very circumstances that allow for reconnection, if that serves both souls' evolution. When someone returns after you've genuinely let them go, it's not because your release was a clever strategy to win them back. Rather, it's because your act of letting go cleared the spiritual static that was interfering with the natural soul connection between you. In my readings, I often emphasize that real relationships thrive in an atmosphere of freedom, not constraint. By releasing expectations and attachment, you create this atmosphere, allowing the authentic soul connection to express itself without the distortions of fear and dependency. The spiritual mechanism behind this phenomenon relates to what I call the creative forces in my readings. These forces respond not to our conscious wishes, but to our deeper spiritual alignment. When you're attached to a specific outcome in a relationship, you're actually resisting the flow of these creative forces. But when you surrender to divine wisdom, accepting whatever outcome serves the highest good, you become a clear channel through which these forces can operate without resistance. This surrendered state is what sometimes allows relationships to transform and heal in ways your attached state prevented. Many individuals I counseled through my readings struggle to understand why their desperate efforts to save relationships only seem to hasten their end. The spiritual principle at work is that energy follows thought. When your thoughts are dominated by fear of loss, you're actually energizing the very outcome you dread. But when you genuinely release the relationship with trust in divine purpose, you shift the energetic pattern completely. This shift sometimes creates the conditions for reconnection because it removes the fear-based interference that was disrupting the natural soul bond. In practical terms, this spiritual law manifests through changes in your own energy and consciousness when you truly let go. Your vibration shifts from contraction to expansion, from fear to trust, from personal will to divine alignment. The person who left often senses this shift intuitively, even if they're not consciously aware of why they suddenly feel drawn back toward you. It's not manipulation, but spiritual physics, like removing a dam that was blocking the natural flow of a river between two souls. The most profound aspect of this spiritual law is that it requires genuine surrender, not strategic withdrawal. Many people pretend to let go, while secretly hoping this technique will bring their person back. This approach fails because the universe responds to our authentic spiritual state, not our conscious strategies. True letting go means completely releasing the outcome, finding peace regardless of whether the person returns, and trusting that whatever happens serves your highest spiritual development. Paradoxically, this genuine surrender is precisely what sometimes creates the conditions for return. Through my readings, I consistently saw how our attachments create spiritual barriers, while our loving release dissolves them. When you truly let someone go, blessing their journey regardless of whether it includes you, you're aligning yourself with the spiritual law of freedom that governs all authentic soul connections. This alignment shifts your energy from grasping to openness, from fear to love, from limitation to possibility. Such a fundamental shift often transforms the entire relationship dynamic, sometimes resulting in the person's return when it serves both souls' highest good. I emphasized in countless readings that relationships are never about possession, but always about growth. When you approach connections from this understanding, letting go becomes not a painful last resort, but a sacred act of honoring each soul's individual journey. This perspective transforms the entire experience from one of loss to one of spiritual alignment. When you release someone with genuine love and well wishes for their path, you're participating in the highest purpose of all relationships, the expansion of consciousness and the expression of unconditional love. The spiritual law that sometimes brings people back when you let them go operates through what I called soul attraction, rather than personal will or manipulation. Unlike physical attraction, which responds to proximity and attachment, soul attraction functions through resonance and spiritual alignment. When you release someone completely, trusting in divine wisdom, you're allowing this deeper level of attraction to operate without interference. This creates the possibility for reconnection based on authentic soul recognition rather than need or dependency. What many struggle to understand is that true letting go requires complete acceptance, not just of the separation itself, but of whatever outcome serves the highest good of all involved. As I explained in numerous readings, the universe orchestrates connections between souls with perfect timing and purpose. When you surrender to this divine orchestration rather than insisting on your personal timeline, you're aligning yourself with the spiritual laws that govern all authentic relationships. This alignment, not any strategy or technique, is what sometimes brings people back into your life in transformed ways. There's a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of soul connections that leads to unnecessary suffering in relationships. Many believe that if two people are truly meant to be together, the connection should be consistently harmonious and free from challenges. My readings revealed a different truth. Authentic soul connections often involve periods of separation and challenge specifically designed to facilitate growth that couldn't occur otherwise. Understanding this transforms how you experience letting go, not as failure, but as participation in a divine plan for spiritual evolution. The most profound spiritual truth about letting go is that it isn't about the other person at all. It's about your own surrender to divine wisdom. When you release someone completely, you're not just releasing them, you're releasing your own attachment to controlling outcomes. This surrender creates a completely different energetic environment, one in which authentic connection can flourish according to its highest purpose, rather than your personal desires. This shift in your spiritual stance is what sometimes allows for reconnection when it serves both souls' evolution. In my readings for those struggling with painful separations, I often emphasize that letting go is not giving up on love, but expanding your understanding of what love truly is. Real love honors the beloved's freedom and journey, even when that journey leads away from you. When you love someone enough to completely release them to their path, blessing them regardless of whether they return, you're practicing the highest expression of love. This creates a spiritual magnetism far more powerful than any attachment or need, a magnetism that sometimes draws the person back into your life in transformed ways. Through thousands of readings, I witnessed how our conscious attachments often block the very connections we most desire. What we call love is frequently entangled with fear, need, and the desire to control outcomes. True letting go requires separating these elements, releasing the fear and attachment, while maintaining the pure love that wishes the best for the other, regardless of personal benefit. This clarified energy sometimes creates the conditions for reconnection, because it aligns with the spiritual law of freedom that governs all authentic soul bonds. When someone returns after you've genuinely let them go, it's evidence of universal laws working as they should. Not because your release was a clever strategy, but because it allowed the natural soul connection between you to express itself without distortion. In my readings, I consistently emphasize that real relationships thrive in spiritual freedom, not emotional dependency. By releasing attachment to specific outcomes and trusting in divine timing, you create this freedom, allowing your connection to evolve according to its highest purpose rather than limited human understanding. The spiritual principle that sometimes brings people back when you let them go operates through what I called soul memory, the recognition between souls that transcends conscious understanding. When you release someone with love rather than bitterness or attachment, you're honoring this deeper connection rather than imposing your personal timeline upon it. This creates a clear channel through which soul recognition can operate without interference, sometimes resulting in reconnection when it serves both individuals' spiritual growth. Ultimately, the spiritual law that can bring someone back when you let them go isn't about manipulation or guarantee, but about alignment. When you release attachment and surrender to divine wisdom, you're aligning yourself with the universal forces that orchestrate all authentic connections. This alignment creates possibilities that your attached state prevented, not because letting go is a strategy for getting what you want, but because it allows what's meant to be to unfold according to divine timing rather than human insistence. If you find yourself struggling to release someone you love, Remember that letting go doesn't mean stopping love. It means transforming how you love. Release the attachment, expectation, and need while maintaining the pure well wishes and appreciation for the role they've played in your journey. This transformed love creates a completely different energetic pattern, one that honors both souls' freedom and creates the possibility for connection based on spiritual truth rather than emotional dependency. This shift in how you love is the key to aligning with the spiritual law that sometimes brings people back when you truly let them go. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of one of the universe's most profound spiritual laws. Remember that true connection exists beyond physical proximity or emotional attachment. It lives in the realm of spirit, where souls recognize each other across all boundaries of time and space. When you honor this truth by releasing those you love to their own journey, trusting in divine wisdom rather than personal will, you're aligning yourself with the spiritual laws that govern all authentic relationships. This alignment creates possibilities for connection that transcend our limited understanding and reveal the perfect orchestration of souls finding their way back to each other when it serves their highest evolution. If these reflections have resonated with your own experiences or sparked new insights about your relationships, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective may provide just the guidance another person needs on their journey. Remember that we're all walking this path together, learning how to love in ways that honor the freedom and growth of every soul we encounter. By engaging with these ideas and sharing your own wisdom, you're participating in the collective expansion of consciousness that benefits us all. Please show your support by liking this video if you found value in these teachings. Your engagement helps these spiritual truths reach others who may be struggling with similar challenges in their relationships. And if you'd like to continue exploring these profound spiritual principles, subscribe to this channel for more insights into the invisible laws that shape our human experience. Remember, the wisdom you seek is already within you. These teachings are simply reminders of what your soul already knows about the true nature of love and connection. May you find the courage to love with open hand, trusting that whatever returns to you comes by divine orchestration rather than human manipulation. And may you discover that in releasing attachment to specific outcomes, you open yourself to possibilities far greater than your limited understanding. The universe has a perfect plan for your journey, one that includes exactly the connections for your highest evolution. Trust this plan, release what you cannot control, and watch as the spiritual laws work through your surrender to create the perfect circumstances for your growth and joy.